The job market has changed again. Wow, wow, wow. Nah, let's just check this out, man. Most likely it's just gonna be a bunch of BS like we already know.
Dramatically. Again. Back in the good over just the last 6 months, the job market has changed dramatically. Again. Back in the good old days of 2024, all workers had to worry about was ghost jobs, quiet firing, job washing, career cushioning, invisible overtime, application black holes, resenteeism, digital downsizing, compensation compression, burnout attrition, and when all else fails, good old-fashioned rolling layoffs. But today, the job market is dealing with a whole new set of trends. And don't worry, they come with a whole fresh list of dumb corporate buzzwords. New economic data, if we are allowed to believe that anymore.
You know how I know they're gonna start printing money? Is because of this thing I saw. Well, I already knew they were gonna start printing money, but this is just like more stuff to it. They're going to. I saw this thing where they were talking about revenge saving. I didn't click on it. I was gonna check it out for us, but it's basically I was thinking like, you know, the best thing to do. Like we're talking if you're crazy and you're a sick person and you want to harm people. What do you do when everybody finally starts saving and gets everything on track and it's like, you know what? I'm going to do the right thing, man. Let's start printing money, baby. We'll punish people who are saving money. And then you're just rolling in guala, baby. Well, we are, not them.
Is revealing some stark realities about the ways that people are finding a job, keeping a job, and progressing in a job. Unfortunately, as you have probably already guessed, a lot of these changes are throwing young workers, and in particular young men, out of the frying pan and into the fire. For the first time ever, unemployment amongst young male college graduates is the same as non-graduates. The share of unemployed people entering the job market for the first time is the highest it has been since 1988, and job mobility has effectively frozen. Now, I know what you might be thinking. All things considered, the unemployment rate still looks pretty good, right? Well, that might actually be part of the problem. And if all of this wasn't bad enough already, there is now a good chance that art history majors are earning more than you are.
So ever since you found out about AI, you've learned that your computer science degree is actually a complete joke?
New college graduates are facing one of the most challenging markets.
This is the problem. When everybody goes to college, college is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. All that matters is that you have power. And unfortunately, a lot of these college graduates are going to find out very soon. You know? It's disappointing, but it's just the truth. The truth is, if you don't have the money, if you can't get access to the money, then you're basically screwed. And God forbid you go to school for 4 years and pay $40,000 and you get nothing out of it. You know, for me, I felt bad, right? I didn't go to college. And right now, I have a decent bit of loans. And I'm exhausted. But I use those loans to put into assets. Now imagine if I was $40,000 in debt and I didn't have any assets to my name except a piece of paper. I'd be scared.
It's for entry-level jobs in a decade.
It's just like getting the first job that's so hard. I've tried to apply for jobs for like a year now, and just like most places like don't get back to me, or they just like say no.
I make fun of my college degree all the time because I'm not self-conscious. Realized it wasn't worth it. Even though
I want to go back. What do you see all here? I'm sorry to say this. They're all prey, man. They're all here because somebody convinced them that they need a piece of paper. It's honestly so ingenious. It's honestly scary. But the truth is, these are customers for life. They are completely bought in. They will never escape the pitfalls of their actions. And I honestly feel sorry for them. How ironic. The guy who didn't go to college feels sorry for the people that did go to college, unless he got a scholarship. But I'm telling you, it ain't that many people that got a full easy ride. And that picked the, even if you got a full easy ride, you spent 4 years of your life, maybe even 8, and you got a scholarship, you did the right thing, you still can't get a job.
Realize it wasn't worth it, even though society deems it as a great accomplishment.
I'm about to call my school up and say that this degree that I spent 4 years trying to get, 4 years, was a waste of money.
There is a funny but not totally inaccurate anecdote amongst business analysts that if you want to find an industry that's about to have really bad job security, then just look where all the Ivy League grads are going. For a while, that was oil and gas companies before the 1980s oil crisis. Then it was outsourcing operations before the Asian financial crisis, then early technology before the dot-com crash, finance before the global financial crisis, and now, over the most recent decade, it's been big tech paying huge salaries to talented graduates early in their careers. Now, obviously, there is a lot of hindsight here. Nothing can boom forever. And of course, a lot of young graduates from top schools are going to try to find a job that pays them as well as possible, if for no other reason than to start paying back that tuition. The problem is that everybody else sees these growing industries where people can make good money earlier in their career, and they try to get qualifications to move into those roles too. But no industry can boom forever, and by the time most people catch up, they find themselves overqualified for a role that doesn't exist anymore. For the last 10 years, the story has been that everybody getting laid off from their factory job should just learn to code. But before that, it was everybody should go and get an MBA. According to the Graduate Management Admissions Council, 2022, right after the dot-com crash, was the all-time peak of people enrolling in postgraduate business school in the hopes that it would boost their stalling careers.
And I hate to say this. Well, actually, let me check this out first. Well, no, I'll say what I was going to say first. I feel so sorry for the women today. Like, truly, honestly. Because it's one thing for men to work. We've been doing this for the eternity. But now, they've got it in women's heads, right? That they want to be in the workforce. It's so ingenious, honestly. I know I kind of sound like a scumbag, but like, come on, think about it. We got women, not we, I'm not saying me, I'm not a part of anything, I don't want to, but they got women to leave their home where they were relaxing and comforting, to put some elbow grease and get a couple bucks out there and really do it, you know, be successful. And get into debt. To be the career, you know, be the one everybody can look to. And that is not really what should be happening. I really feel sorry for them because now if they don't want to do this, it's going to make them look like something's wrong with them. It's honestly really terrible. It's really not okay. But I don't know. I don't know, man. We're in deep.
To the numbers today, it looks like that well-intentioned but ultimately flawed advice may be going to college at all, as the unemployment rate is now the same between graduates and non-graduates. After this data went live, there were several articles concluding that this signifies the end of the higher education payoff, which is probably a bit of an oversimplification for the sake of hyperbole. This is absolutely a concerning trend, but there are two important details you need to understand about it before you go canceling that college admission. The first is that if both of these groups have the same rate of unemployment, that doesn't necessarily mean that the earnings advantage of college is gone. Looking for a job as a qualified engineer is normally going to be better than looking for a job as an unskilled laborer, so even though the same share of these two groups may be out of work, the earnings of the college graduates is still higher.
Well, of course. What did you go to college for? You're supposed to make more than somebody who doesn't. But you know what I know? Is that money is infinite. Meaning, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. And all I'm saying is, I'm coming to the conclusion that if you're investing, well, basically all I'm saying is the laws that we live by don't really apply. And you might be able, X amount of money you need, right? Let's say 100,000. Let's say 1 million. Let's say 2 million. Maybe you don't need as much as you think. I don't know, man. That's just what I found with investing as well. You think you need like $1 million to start investing? You don't really need that. But I will say, the problem is, if they stick you with debt that is compounding, you're not really going to be able to, especially if they sell you something that has no value. Now you're really screwed. You know, the sad thing is, at least if they sold you an $80,000 car, right? And you weren't supposed to buy it and you just got tricked into it. They could at least repo the car. You know, like you can get past it somehow. With this student debt thing, bro, they want your soul. And then, this is the best part. Once you graduate, right, you have to find a job in that field. How silly would it be to be like, yeah, bro, I got a master's in financing, man. Oh, congratulations, man. So what firm do you work at? Where are you, man? I work at Walgreens, man. Ah, okay. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never want to be held to anything. Well, some things, but nothing. I'm not doing anything I don't believe in, but what happens when you believe in something that's a scam?
Also, something I feel I need to repeat as often as I can, the unemployment rate is a really narrow statistic that people pay far too much attention to as a singular data point. To count as unemployed, you need to be out of the job and actively looking for more work. Today, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 72% of people with a bachelor's degree or higher qualification are actively working or looking for a job. That number is falling every year, which we will address soon. But it's still significantly higher than the 56% of high school graduates who are actively engaged in the labor force, and it's even worse for people who didn't graduate high school. But they are getting more involved, and again, we will get to why soon. For now, what you need to remember is that even though this particular statistic looks bad, and don't get me wrong, it is bad, you are still more likely to have a job and have a higher paying job with a college degree. But that's still not the whole calculation. Degrees are not free. And a lot of people are realizing that lifetime earnings are great and all, but sometimes a little bit of money early in life with no debt is better than more money later in life with big repayments the moment you are handed a piece of paper. The trend is that every year, the math is looking a little bit worse. And that is something that should be carefully considered for any investment with a 40 or 50-year payoff period. But that's just the statistical details that you need to understand about this graduate unemployment problem. The second and much more important point is that this only applies to men. The unemployment gap for graduate women is lower than it has been historically, but is still pretty wide, and it's actually been growing at the same time the gap for men has been disappearing. And the question is, why? Well, this strange difference actually reveals a lot about other recent trends in the job market. So it's time to learn How Money Works to find out how it's all changing.
Once again, unfortunate. I hate to say it, I'm gonna have to say it. They need women in the workforce. Because women spend money. Women want houses. Women care about that stuff. Women care about material items. So they can be coerced into working their whole lives. Just so that they don't lose their benefits. And it's sad. because while they're just slaving away, they're really just wasting time. You know? They're not really investing like that. They're just saving money, paying bills, and enjoying life, which is nothing wrong with that. But when they start printing money, they're not going to be ready for it. Basically, it's unfortunate, but they know they can get this stuff back from the women. Worst case scenario. That's why they're starting to give them better jobs, or they're trying to force them into positions, and they want women to do this. And also it's great because they know women can't handle this long term. So they'll end up quitting, moving to another job. And it's just the perfection of slavery. And the best part is women are so strong-willed that nobody could tell them that this is wrong. But, hey. And I love this thing where they show women, right? Like, oh, I just made $1 million off OnlyFans. Do you really believe that? Maybe they did. That's one person out of like billions. I'm sorry. This is so ingenious. All you gotta do is pay one person $1 million and millions of people will chase after this as if they are gonna also get this.
Compared to those who hop jobs for promotions or pay bumps. But that has changed, and over the last year, the benefit has all but disappeared. Now, a little bit of that is because wage growth is just slowing down overall, but a larger trend is that the job market is encouraging staying put and doing absolutely nothing. Nobody is hiring, nobody is leaving their job, nobody is pushing for a promotion, and nobody is doing anything that could open them up to the next round of layoffs. According to industry reports, some people are even avoiding new jobs that could be considered career advancements so they can stay with a company in a role where they are past probation and feel less at risk of being let go. This is also benefiting people in less boom and bust careers like those who went and got an arts degree. Generally, these people go into their fields because they are genuinely passionate about it over people who are chasing a lucrative career. They generally take less career risks and hold on to roles that they become extremely proficient at, which makes them harder to replace than random business and commerce graduate number A3113. This is not the best strategy in good times if all you care about was making money, but it gave them a head start on what everybody is doing right now, which is holding on to their job for dear life. This trend of people holding on to their roles has its own buzzword, because of course it has its own buzzword, and it's called job hugging. Overall, it's not a great sign when combined with the less than stellar new jobs data, but it is the logical response by all parties dealing with
I'll be
increased
honest, I
uncertainty.
agree too. I want a job hop right now but it's just like there's too many risks involved, and I feel like I'm just not 100% sure. Unless the job is paying a lot more, I'd be hard pressed to switch a job right now, even until some stuff changes.
Which is where we get back to this growing gap between young men and women in the workplace. There is a lot to unpack there, but there are 3 key differences driving this trend. The first is the push to equalize gender balance in certain roles, but not all roles. The push has been toward getting women into male-dominated fields that require a college degree like STEM and business management.
Ingenious too, because come on, man, I feel like people are so easily manipulated. You know, it's just like, think about it. What's perfect? Convincing women to get into a field that's dominated by men. Why? Because they're not going to do this long term. They're going to go for it, get the degree, get the job, and quit. After they accumulated some stuff and I just can't do it anymore. And then they're just going to leave. I don't know why people don't get this. If they say, hey, we're trying to get women into sports, or we're trying to get women to be truck drivers and construction workers, and people are like, oh my God, they're trying to help us. No. I realize that this world is just a scam, man. And I also realize people don't think deeply about certain issues, right? They try, but it's only so surface level. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's honestly sad, right? Because if you only see surface level, you're not seeing the beauty in said whatever it is, or the beauty without it, or you're not seeing what it could be. I am not a person that sees it for what it is. I am a person that sees what it could be. Good or bad. But it's sad, honestly, and you just kind of have to get out of the way because you can't stop the manipulation, but I don't know. You really think women are going to want to do cementing and construction for years? Come on, people. I don't care if they say, hey, we'll pay for half of it or we'll give you a cushy position. It's really sad, man.
Not as much the unskilled fields that are also dominated by men, like the trades and labor roles. Women in STEM has been a big focus of government programs, corporate initiatives, and school enrollments for decades at this point, and it's been highly successful at opening up the field to more talent. This means that men are competing with a wider base of competition than they would have in the past, and the simple fact is that there are only so many of these jobs to go around. But at the same time, the men in roles that don't require a college degree haven't had the same increase in competition. This isn't a new trend. Before the pandemic shook up a lot of this data, male college grads had an unemployment rate of around 5%, while their non-graduate peers had an unemployment rate of 6%. Female college graduates at the same time had an unemployment rate of around 3%, but their non-graduate peers also had 6% unemployment, so the gap was much wider. Now, it's important to point out that there have been similar programs to try to get men into historically women-dominated graduate fields too, especially nursing, aged care, and elementary school teaching. But overall, they have been less successful. Now, there are a few reasons for this. If we are being completely honest with one another, there is still a stigma around this. A woman landing a role as an engineer or office executive is seen as empowerment, where a guy becoming a nurse is still the butt of the joke, and an elementary school teacher is the target of suspicion and raised eyebrows.
This world is really messed up. Men get shamed for being single. Women, it's empowering. There's so many of these, and that's why I just don't play by anybody's rules anymore, except my own, which is, I believe, a good rule. And I believe I go off of truth. That's my only basis in reality. So I no longer face any of these. And so I'm saying, I also realize money doesn't mean anything, right? I work a really basic job, but I guarantee you, I have more money than most people. And it's really just about being very clever. And I guess if you're not clever, then yes, having a cushy job would be nice, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I've never had a wanting to be really deep into a company, you know. I never cared. I just didn't. It was never for me. Maybe because they didn't want me there. Maybe because I didn't want to be there. I just always had this thing in my head where it's like, always. I could always be doing something else. I could be playing golf. I don't even like golf. Why, you know what I'm saying? But none of this means anything. All these, it's so many variables that it would be impossible to tell what is correct and what isn't. Because I saw this one thing with this YouTube video. This guy was saying how single women own more homes than single men. I was like, dude, that's so generalized. Like, obviously, I actually like the guy, but it's like, duh. Like, he didn't say single women age 30 have more homes than single men age 30. Why do you think women live longer than men? So, older women are more likely to be widowed. which means they own more homes on average than a single man. Single man by that time, if he's in his 60s, if he doesn't have a wife, he's probably just he might live in an apartment or a building, you know, like, because it's just more convenient. So all the data is just skewed. It's all confusing. It doesn't really make sense, basically. It's just moved in ways to benefit them.
It absolutely should not be like this, and it is getting better, but it's silly to pretend it doesn't exist. The second reason is that historically, these roles have not paid as well, and men have generally been attracted to more lucrative careers either because they need to support a family or simply because that's what they valued. The job market has changed faster than those cultural expectations, which is why men seek out more typically prestigious jobs. This current gap is a reflection of that reality. Safe, stable jobs like nursing are doing really well in a bad time thanks to an aging population, while we are on the tail end of trendy jobs that would have made a lot of money in a better environment. This also explains why unemployment amongst non-college educated men has been pretty stable, because construction, the trades, and other semi-skilled jobs have been pretty stable between increased home construction and infrastructure. You can also see the beating they took after construction slowdowns from the global financial crisis, which were not nearly as bad for their college-educated peers. Now, these differences hurt women in the workforce too. When women do go into these trendy fields like technology, they actually tend to do worse when it comes to downsizing. A study on the recent round of tech layoffs sweeping the industry found that women accounted for 44% of job losses while only representing 28%
This is the best part. Because they know women are very, very delicate creatures, they're not going to be able to output like a man. And it's the perfect reason to lay you off. After you get a home, after you get a mortgage, after you get that cute little BMW with a little sticker on it that's pink, they're coming for all that and more. I want to help people so bad. I really do. I really truly do. This isn't me being like joking, and I'm serious. We've created a country where everyone's so prideful that nobody can see that they're being set up. Like, and then you have the one guy in the room screaming, everybody wake up, man, it's happening, they're setting us up. And everybody just, it's like, are you serious? Nobody's gonna stand up with me? Nobody. Shh. Crickets. Tss, tss. They are coming for women. They are trying to destroy everything about them. And it's like women are just like, okay. They're destroying men too. Because when they kick men out of the workforce and bring women in that they know they don't need, when they eventually lay these women off, it's going to be AI to take over, baby. Men and women aren't going to really have a job. And then what? I'm going to say it. You better have some cryptocurrency. And it better be staking to make you some passive income. This is the next wave, and it would be hyper expensive for you.
Now, the companies obviously didn't release comprehensive data on why they chose to lay off who, but generally there are three explanations for this. The first is that these companies may have hired evenly, but they still segregated genders within different departments, hiring more women for jobs in HR, marketing, corporate culture, and internal development. These are, coincidentally, the first departments to get cut in downsizing. The second explanation is that in some ways, cultural expectations work for men. They are seen as a breadwinner supporting a family, where the #girlboss is more likely to land on their feet. This is another example of something that employers should clearly not be doing, but women are consistently judged more harshly in high-performing roles compared to men. Unfortunately, this often happens particularly from other women.
Well, let me let him explain this, because I was just going to say something about that, but why did he say women are complaining about other women? You know, they're catty.
who disproportionately work in departments like HR, which can have a lot of sway over layoff decisions. The third crude explanation is that hiring practices that targeted a diversity objective over just hiring the best person for the job favored people who would underperform compared to their peers. So when performance-based layoffs were conducted, these people were more likely to be below the cutoff. It's no secret that a lot of the cultural forward companies have pulled a hard 180 on a lot of these initiatives in the last year. Now, I am sure you can probably tell, but I am trying to be really careful about sidestepping the whole culture war rabbit hole here. But it's still important to acknowledge these realities when looking at these issues, because even though it shouldn't, it will have a big impact on everybody's career. One of the best things to do with this information is to use it to your advantage. Despite the stigma, one of the safest groups from trouble in the job market are men in previously female-dominated fields. Fields like healthcare already have a low unemployment rate, and men often find it particularly easy to get these roles because of the practical realities that they can more easily do a lot of the physical work these roles involve. This was dubbed the glass elevator effect all the way back in 1992 in a University of Texas article. It found that men often found it much easier to progress in these roles, and even though initial salaries were lower compared to male-dominated fields, after accounting for the higher chance of career progression, the lifetime earnings shifted back into their favor. Now, obviously, don't pick a job because of some video on the internet. My thing is
this, let's say it because no one wants to say it. Women do not want to work. It's not their fault. They don't want to. Stop trying to make them work all the time. And as for men, give men back decent jobs with decent pays, and let's just go back to normal, man. God, man. I'm out.